Welcome, and thanks for joining us for another episode of Holding Down the Fort, a podcast show where we put military spouses and children's needs front and center so that they can make informed decisions together as a family. Because let's face it, we know who's really holding down the fort. I'm Jen Amos, a veteran spouse and Gold Star daughter, and your host for today's show. Let's get started. All right. Hi, everyone. Jen Amos here with Holding Down the Fort podcast show. I am excited. Every time I get to do another show like this, it means that I get to introduce to you someone in the community or for the community to help military families just continue to hold down the fort. So today I want to introduce you to Tom Antion. So Tom has never had a job. Very interesting. He's an internet multi-millionaire guy next door and founder of the only licensed dedicated internet marketing school in the country. He's the subject of a Hollywood documentary, The American Entrepreneur, premiering later this year. Tom has helped many military people realize their dream of having an online business. He's also the host of the podcast, Screw the Commute. Tom, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jen. I'm thrilled to be here. I'm absolutely thrilled.
Yeah, we just discovered before we got on that we might be neighbors.
We're neighbors.
You live in Virginia. Yeah, you live in Virginia too.
Yeah.
And the company, or what do you call it, the school that we'll be talking about today is, at least the physical location is here in Virginia as well, correct?
Yeah, it's right next to Mount Trashmore. And for your listeners, I'm not kidding. We have a place called Mount Trashmore that used to be the garbage dump, and now it's a gorgeous park. So I'm next door to Mount Trashmore.
Oh, I love it. I went to that park with my husband a couple months ago when we first moved here. And I was asking him, I was like, was this place literally built on trash? And we joked about it. We were like, oh yeah, sure it was. And come to find out it actually was. So that's crazy.
Yeah, I'm wondering where all the methane is going. Usually on garbage dumps, maybe it'll all explode one of these days. I don't know.
Oh my gosh. Well, Tom, you have been in the internet marketing industry for over 20 years, quite a long time. And, just from your bio alone, we have shared that you've never worked a job and you are doing a lot of incredible things for other people who want to screw the commute and build an online marketing business. So for people that are just getting to know you for the first time, Tom, what would you say is like a day in the life of someone in your position who probably just works remotely, probably works at home? What is a day in life for you?
Well, Jen, you did do some sleuth work on me, and you saw that I've done a lot of stuff in my life, and I base it on the fact that I've never been stuck in traffic making other people rich all the time. I mean, when you're working for yourself, especially out of your home, you can live 2 or 3 lives. So basically you set your own schedule. Now you do have to be able to set your own schedule because some people are working at home and they look around and they think, oh, well, I could dust this or I better do the dishes. You do have to work if you're going to work from home. But I actually been selling on the commercial internet since it started in 1994. So it's been almost 26 years now since it started. But I've been in formal business over 43 years, and even since I was 10 years old, doing side hustles as a little kid. So I've been totally entrepreneurial my entire life. But a typical day is one of the things I'm going to talk about with your families today is how to make your hobbies tax deductible. I've been teaching this for many years, and I happen to have 2 protection dogs here, family protection dogs. And I made a business out of it because they're very expensive to purchase and to upkeep. So I made a business out of it. So the first thing in the day, firstly, you got to take the dogs out. So go play with the dogs is the beginning of my day. Then I just check email, which is the overnight sales that would come in. And I've got a nickname that one of my students gave me called the King of Ka-ching because my
Nice.
Email goes ka-ching when an order comes in. You have to turn it off sometimes because it gets annoying. So I check overnight sales. Then I usually spend my mornings keeping up with stuff because I do sell some things that I created a product 28 years ago that's still selling today. That's called an evergreen product. But the internet stuff is not like that. So I have to keep up myself. So the mornings when I'm most fresh is learning and keeping up with new things because I don't want to my students to be learning old stuff, or things that, would get you banned. So I spend the morning doing that. And then I have mentees, we call them, that are all around the world that book appointments with me to discuss their particular issue one-on-one. Nobody at my level will even talk to anybody. So I'm a guy, like I say, guy next door, because you see me walking down the street, people aren't, tackling me for my autograph. Trust me. Right? But I grew up in a small town and we take care of people. So I one-on-one help people the rest of the day. And then in the midst of that, I'm creating more products. And see, we're in the digital revolution now. So this is a 97% profit in information products. And that's the lowest risk, highest return. A lot of business, Jen, you're in the financial field. They're lucky if they have a 5% to 10% profit margin they have to make it in, where this you can mess up, which I did plenty over the years, just by the fact that the profit is 97%. So you have to really try to mess up to not be able to make money at 97%. So I'm creating new products. I'm writing sales copy. I'm doing Facebook Lives for groups on all kinds of topics. I'm meeting with, I have 2 employees at the school, 3 employees at the school full-time, and 2 contractors that are available. So we do meetings by Zoom twice a week. Then in the evenings, I am still doing things. I might be creating something. When you get really wrapped up in creating stuff, hours don't seem to matter. In fact, they say an entrepreneur will work 18 hours a day to get out of working for somebody else for 8 hours a day. So
there you go.
Yeah. So that's pretty much my day, is just, and you notice none of it was getting in the car and sitting in traffic. So, yeah. So if I'm sitting in traffic, it's going to be to go take the dogs to the park. That's as far as I go.
There you go. Yeah, I've been self-employed for basically my entire young adult life. I'm 31 now, turning 32. But part of my story is that I was fired from 4 jobs in my young 20s consecutively. Yeah. And so my best friend was like, Jen, I don't think you're meant for a job. And so I've just been in sales and entrepreneurship ever since. Now, it's not like the sexiest journey. I try to kind of like not romanticize it when people ask about it, because at least for me, it had been very difficult. But I feel very fortunate today to be working with my husband, because he's just as crazy, if not crazier than me, in taking big risk. And, he understands the difference between good debt and bad debt, for example. And, because he has a background in finance, like the numbers don't really mean much to him. And, he's all about helping, like, what do you call it? He's all about like the bigger mission, like the bigger cause, and helping for the greater good of things. And so, yeah, that's why I fell in love with him, and why I'm still part of this crazy journey of online marketing and what have you. It's pretty crazy. But anyway, with that said, I was looking more into your story, Tom, and I was curious as to how you ended up, or how you grew up in this life. And your father was an entrepreneur. Is that correct?
That's correct. He came actually on a cattle boat from Syria when he was 3 years old to Ellis Island. And my name's a mistake. My last name is Antion, but when he came from Syria, where you were born is how you were named. So he was Simon from Antioch, Syria. And when they got to Ellis Island, they're looking at it, trying to read it. All right, you're Sam Antion. So that's how he got in there. So he was very entrepreneurial, and that's all I saw as I was growing up. And I was a baby of 6 boys. And, I was doing side hustles, like I said, 10 years old. I bought my first used car when I don't want to be a used car salesman, all right? But I bought my first used car at 15 years old before it had a driver's license. Wow. And I resold it for a big profit. So, so that's all I've seen all my life. And I know a lot of your listeners are not used to that. They might be, their parents both worked, and they taught them to grow up and get a good job and, try to get a gold watch in 20 years. Well, I haven't seen any gold watches being given out for a while, I'll tell you the truth. It's a different atmosphere now.
Yeah, in our community, it's very common for the service member to be deployed and the spouse stays home, because it just makes more economic sense for them to stay at home. But a lot of military spouses are highly educated, yet underemployed. And so with that said, I thought we'd transition into internet marketing because I find that there's a lot of people that, not just like for building businesses, but building community as well. A lot of military spouses that have joined me on the show, I actually met a lot of them through Instagram, for example,
Sure.
and Facebook groups. And it's just a great way to build community. But for yourself, why internet marketing? Why did you get started in it back in 1994?
Well, I had been an entertainer and a professional speaker since 1988. Had businesses all before that too, long before you were born. But at the time, we were selling cassette tapes, if you even know what that is.
I do. I was old enough to know what those
museum.
were.
Yeah. And it was hard enough to sell them across the street, let alone around the world. So when I saw this internet coming along, I'm thinking to myself, you mean I can sell my stuff around the world from my basement on a computer? I'm going to figure this out. And I scratched and crawled for 2 years, didn't make a nickel, 1994 to 1996, until I got good training from a guy named Corey Rudel. He was like the 31-year-old, same age as you, grandfather of internet marketing. And he was making like $5 million a year from his apartment. So that was my first training. And as soon as I got good training, I started making money. It wasn't like it is now, but it was $50 a week, 100, 500, 1,000. And then you have $30,000 weeks now. So this is a very, very powerful force. And my dad was in the military. He was actually in the cavalry. He had a horse.
Oh, okay.
And I've always been extremely patriotic, and several of my brothers were in the service. And I live in, where we live. So one of the biggest collections of military in the world. Mm-hmm. And I saw over and over again, and I'm like extremely pro-military. And I saw over and over again, and I'm preaching to the choir here, but military spouses taking crappy jobs because the employers know they're going to be leaving. Mm-hmm. And then they have to go somewhere else and take another crappy job. So I said, I'm going to figure out a way with what I know to help these military families. And so that's how I got approved by the Department of Defense for the MyCAA program. And I don't know, hopefully you know what that is, because a lot of people don't. But every spouse that I talk to around here, nobody even heard of it. And so I'm helping spread the word about that so that they can get trained in a portable skill, so that if they have clients or something here where they're working from home, and they get, I have a young lady that was an intern for me, married to a guy in the Navy, moved to South Korea. She still does work for me. So,
love it.
You know what I mean? So I've got a whole list of benefits to help solve this problem for military spouses. And that's part of my thing. And I just got invited to the White House, talk to the second lady, who is part of her platform, Mrs. Pence, is military spouse employment problems. And so I just came back with Rochelle Futch, which hopefully you'll have her on here one of these days. She was Military Spouse of the Year for Fort Bragg. And we were up there meeting with the Office of the Second Lady, and she agreed to show up at some of our events and really inspire the military spouses and so forth. So it's been a great ride. And I know that the school is going to do some good for a lot of families, and that's my mission.
Hey everyone, Jen here, just taking a quick second to talk about our major sponsor for Holding Down the Fort podcast show. We at US Vet Wealth understand that our military service members and families are unique amongst Americans, and that we have a passion for service in all that we do. Traditional financial service firms focus on guiding you towards saving for retirement, but most service members and their families will have a second lifetime and a second career between the time they get out of the military and the time that they reach retirement age. Many of us also want to do good in the world, but we don't want to wait until we're 65 to do it. We believe that there's never been a better opportunity in history to be a military service member, military spouse, or veteran in the United States of America right now. And we want to assist you in positioning your money, not for retirement, but to support your dreams today. Learn more about US Vet Wealth at usvetwealth.com, or check out our recent feature in the Military Families magazine, link provided in the show notes. Yeah, absolutely. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the school. And the first question I want to ask, because we know that there are so many internet marketing programs out there in the internet space. And I find it so interesting that yours was particularly approved by the DoD. Can you talk about why that was so important for you? Because I know that probably took a lot, to get their endorsement, really.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, I have a TV show in development called Scam Brigade, because as I was coming up and I speak at a lot of events around the world, and there's so many people scamming everybody. And in the internet marketing field, they can be totally anonymous and scam the heck out of you. And so I thought, you know what? There's so much of this going on. I'm going to set myself apart. So it took 3 years to get the license for the school. It was background checks, financial checks, security checks, everything, because so many of these for-profit schools have been ripping people off like crazy. And then they have a big debt on their hands and no marketable skills. So I said, I'm going to wipe that off at my school. If my name's on it, it's going to be good. So I went through all that. We've been operating, I think, 8-9 years now, hundreds of graduates. And then when I got approved for the Department of Defense scholarship program, I thought, this is perfect. I have a list of 10 benefits, if you'll indulge me, of how this can help military spouses. So number one is you can start any time. You're not forced to comply with anybody else's schedule. Now, I do have what they call a cohort starting in the mid-January, where Rochelle Futch is going to join, and she's having a lot of people join at one time to help each other through the school. So I thought, that's beautiful, but you don't have to do that. And then number two, you can legitimately do your training from home anytime, day or night. So you can totally work around your family schedule. So if you have little kids, you can do it at night or early in the morning. So that's a beautiful benefit for families. And you have no cost for books or travel. This is benefit number three, because any book on internet marketing is obsolete before the ink dries. So, and they charge you a fortune in school for these, books. So that's wiped off the map. You don't have any extra fees for any books or travel or anything. Everything is online. Now, we can't guarantee this, and I know you wanted me to tell you about some of the success stories. So we can't guarantee it, but you can actually start making money even before graduating. And a young woman named Ashley joined, and in her first month in the school, she was making $1,100 on the side, because businesses know that they need this, but they're pulling their hair out with taking care of social media and keeping up with everything. So she immediately went to $1,100 a month. 2 months later, she was making $3,000 a month. And her dad had paid $80,000 for her college education, and she was working some menial job. And so now she's quitting and starting her own agency.
There you go. Wow.
And this is all not pie in the sky. We can't ethically guarantee anything like that.
But
the thing is, you young folks, it's just perfect, because us old farts are basically, desperate for, and most small business people are desperate for somebody to take this off their plate, because they can't keep up with it. They don't understand it. And you walk in as a young person that's very tech savvy, you can write your own ticket. So that's number 4. And number 5, the Department of Defense demanded that for us to be in this program, that the skill had to be portable, which means it couldn't be some kind of thing like art history. It's not in demand anywhere, and it's not a skill that you go somewhere and instantly get a job. So this is clearly about as portable as you can get, because not only can you have clients that you never have to divorce just because you move, you can actually sell your own stuff. And I encourage that heavily. Is I want you to both be working for somebody else and have your own products and services, and eventually to the point where you don't have to work for anybody else. You're just selling your own stuff. So that's number 5. Number 6, the skills are in high demand. Every business on earth has to have all this stuff. And like I said, they're pulling their hair out, because even a restaurant, let's say, they're desperately just trying to get the food on the table and keep the customers happy. And then they got all these things on their plate of social media, on their plate, no pun intended,
I just got that.
Yeah, all their things.
That's funny.
What did I just say? So anyway, it's a high demand skill. Everybody needs this if they're going to be in business. And most of the small businesses are just desperate. That's why as soon as Ashley told people she was doing this, they're like begging her to take it off, to do it for them. So the high demand. Number 7, not only can you learn from home, which means no child care expenses, you can legitimately work from home, which is no child care expenses. And see, businesses don't want to pay a high rent to have you sitting there and writing a blog post you could have written at home. See, so they're happy. Now, there's plenty of work from home scams, but this isn't one of them. This is around the world. Businesses are outsourcing to this, but mostly to English speaking people because this is marketing related. See, programming gets outsourced to Pakistan and India and stuff, but marketing is usually they want an English mentality because USA is the number one in marketing around the world. So you can work at home and learn from home. So that was number 7. Number 8, you're never far from your cell phone anyway, right? When you have a spouse that's deployed. So you can turn that into an income generator for your family. You can work if your kids are at swimming class, you could be sitting there working on your cell phone. And it's, like I said, totally portable, even locally when you're doing your other family things. And 9, I kind of a little bit tongue in cheek, you won't have to bug your family and friends to buy your network marketing crap.
Yep. That had to be put in there. That had to be in there.
I had to get that in there. And then 10, the sky's the limit on your income. I mean, you can create your own digital products and sell them all around the world at 97% profit. And then here's something, again, I can't guarantee, but I ran into a military spouse in Italy that they don't allow you to get jobs there because I guess it takes from the local economy. But you know what? And again, I'm not pushing this. I don't want to violate any kind of, make a international incident over this, but is anybody going to notice if you're sitting on your computer doing a blog post for somebody in Toledo, Ohio? I don't think they're going to notice. Right. You can still keep money coming in. So those are 10 of the really big benefits of getting internet marketing skills, no matter where you get them. Just make sure you get them from someplace credible.
Yeah. And I mean, to me, this sounds like a dream. This is something that I wish that I had learned or I was able to go through early on in my online marketing career, just to have something that really affirms that, yes, you can learn from home, you can work from home, you can set your own hours, you can build your business around your life, your work around your life rather than your life around your work. And so I think for the average civilian, that's like the dream, but for military spouses, that's like the necessity. And so I think it's really awesome that you were able to go through the painstaking process of getting approved by the DoD, get that DoD stamp,
right.
And really separate yourself from other people who are kind of just haphazardly putting their programs out there. I'm just curious, out of all the good things with the program, what's the number one catch? Is there a catch to any of this?
The catch is that you do have to be self-motivated. Some people are just not cut out to work from home. They need to get dressed up and put some heels on or tie on and go to a workplace. So if you're not a self-starter and you're more likely to just turn TV on and watch soap operas, this is not really the thing for you. But when you see the potential and what it can do for your family, it's just so powerful. And like the hobby stuff I was telling you about, most families, military or not, spend a fortune on things that they get no tax credit for or no payback from other than the enjoyment of doing it. For instance, if you're a soccer mom or a soccer dad, you're buying the cleats and the socks and the outfits and the balls and the equipment, and you're driving to events and all that, and you're just paying up for that. But you could start yourself a soccer blog, and you could bring some money in by what they call affiliate marketing. So that means you don't even have to make your own product. Somebody else has a product that you could put on your blog, and if somebody buys it, you get a commission. Well, as soon as you start getting money from that, you have just now created an online business and you have tax deductions that are available for the things that surround it. I have a crazy site called Fatso Tennis. It's fatsotennis.com. I have the dubious distinction of being the largest person ever to star and create a tennis training video. It's called Winning Tennis for the Overweight and Hopelessly Out of Shape.
Oh, man.
Because I'm a tennis nut, and it's expensive. The rackets are a couple $100 and strings and ball machines and all this stuff. So I created this, and it's a serious thing on one hand where it shows how the geometry of the court, I can run young people to death before I drop dead. And then some of it is like crazy funny. It's like there's a thing you can stick on the end of your racket and you can go down and push it on top of the ball so you don't have to bend over and pick the ball up.
There you go. Lazy tennis.
Yeah, it's all kinds of gadgets like that. But see, that makes all my stuff legitimately tax deductible. And I'm not an accountant or CPA or an attorney, but I have cleared this with hundreds of people in my audiences that were accountants and attorneys. They say, yep, that's a business. So your family, your camping or any kind of family interests that you have, they can be made tax deductible. And you don't feel so guilty spending money and time on them. So that's just one of the big benefits.
I think that's so incredible. I appreciate your passion for military families and being able to provide this knowledge and this program. So thank you so much for that. For people that want to learn more about the school, and get certified and everything. And I also just want to add, early on, we had mentioned this on the show, military spouses are eligible for a scholarship offered by MICA, which stands for My Career Advancement Account Program for Military Spouses. I'll provide that in the show notes for our listeners if you want to look more into that.
I can add to that a little bit as a thank you. As a thank you to military families that sacrifice sometimes to the max to keep us safe and to let me and other people like me do what we do. Our school and me basically gives a 50% scholarship off the top of our tuition just as a thank you. So you cut off 50% of the right there for any military. We actually include law enforcement and first responders in that. And then in addition, military spouses that are eligible, there's certain requirements that they have to fill, but then that's another potential $4,000 you can get as a military spouse. And then again, as a thank you, we made sure that any balance, no military family will pay more than $97 a month on any balance that's left over after their scholarship, so that anybody can afford this. And I'm just thrilled to be able to be in a position to do this for military families.
Yeah. And I want to thank you so much. I was going to ask, what is it about military families that resonates with you so much? And I think you just answered that question for me.
I mean, like I said, when I see the stuff on TV and I see the people that I meet around here, because we got one of the biggest collections in the world right here. And I remember when I first moved here, I was down by Oceana Naval Station, and then a jet took off and I didn't even know there was a runway there. And it's like, oh my God, my brains are like getting rattled. And then they got signs around here for everybody that doesn't live here. If you don't like jet noise, go the heck home where you came from.
Oh man. So Tom, no joke, every morning, we live close to a base as well.
Right.
But every morning, I think right at 8:00, or right around sunrise, the national anthem always goes off. It's always on. And we can hear it all the way from our house. Even when we're in the house, we're like, what is that? So if I'm not sleeping in, if I'm up early, it's one of the first things that I hear. It's crazy.
I'm glad they're playing it, because I'm not too thrilled. I'm not a spring chicken, and I grew up where there's super high patriotism in the country, and some of the stuff that's going on doesn't sit well with people in my generation. So I'm glad they're playing that. And I said, I can do a part for military families.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Tom, I feel like we had such an incredible conversation today. Do you have any other closing thoughts or advice for our listeners before we wrap up?
Well, I just want them to know that the internet can be used. Everybody's on it anyway. So you may want to really consider how you could change the course of your financial future for your family by embracing this in some fashion whatsoever. If it's not me, somebody credible to teach you how to do this. And I'll tell you what, it's just the sky is the limit. There's no limit on what you could do for your family if you took the time, especially if you're taking the time to go to some pitiful job that you hate and is not really commensurate with your knowledge and your education, and you're just doing it because you have to. The time spent in this could pay off beautifully for your family and your financial future and your security.
I feel compelled to ask you one more question before we go.
Yeah, okay. I'm here. I live here.
Yeah, that's right. I just come to your house. No.
Yeah.
But, you've been in the entrepreneurial world for basically your entire forever. Yeah. And what do you think is that hang up for people that are working a job? What keeps them from taking that leap, to learning something such as internet marketing, to break away from the 9-to-5 job and, screw the commute? What do you think is that hang up?
Well, I don't like to use the term brainwashed, but I feel compelled in that the higher education system in our country has been designed to make you think you must go to a college to be anything in this world. And they just keep raising the tuitions. And I have a webinar on this, and you'll be mad after you watch it, because some of the things that are happening out there is that they're artificially raising grade point averages, but testing is showing that the students are dumber just to justify these high tuitions. But anyway, this, onslaught to parents that, you got to get your kids to college so that they can make money and they can have a good career is not really working out. Look around. I mean, the average student, they did a study with 2,000 students in a bunch of different colleges. They're spending 8 hours a week total preparing and going to class. 8 hours in a whole week. The rest of it is partying, eating, and shopping. Now, I don't know if I want to mortgage my house for that, right?
Yeah.
The ones that are making it are getting usable skills that are in demand, which is why I'm so fired up to try to help people do this, because the other direction, if you're going to be a dentist or a doctor or something, or an accountant that requires, you go through that, that makes sense. But for most people, it doesn't. And I think that's what's holding them up, is they've been hammered since they're a little kid. I mean, preschool, they're saying, what are you going to be in college? Where are you going to go to college?
Yeah,
I'm not. True. I'd like to see some little kid say, I'm not, and then throw up on the person asking.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So I think that's it, that they've been brainwashed that there's only one path, and that is just so wrong nowadays. The world has changed.
Yeah. My siblings and I, we were very fortunate to go through college. Our tuition was paid for thanks to my father serving. But, it didn't mean I was going to be successful. I did get fired from 4 jobs.
Exactly right.
Just so you all know, it didn't really work for me.
Now they're giving credit to protest. Just upsets me.
Yeah. Well, Tom, I want to thank you so much for your time. For anyone that wants to reach out to you and learn more about you and the school, how can they do that?
Yeah, so they can go to imtcva.org. That's Internet Marketing Training Center of Virginia, but it is distance learning, so it doesn't matter where you are. And then put /military. And that'll show you a lot of the people that I've helped in the military over the years, and go over all these benefits, and talks about the MyCAA program and so forth. And then they probably should subscribe to my podcast, screwthecommute.com. It's all over iTunes and every possible place you can get a podcast. So, and they can reach me through there, and I'm happy to speak to people. Like I said, people at my level won't talk to anybody. I'll talk to anybody that wants to improve themselves. So they can find the contact information there.
Awesome. Well, there you have it, listeners. We have Tom Antion on our show. Thank you so much for your time. And hopefully this was another valuable episode in which you can apply to holding down the fort for your family. Thank you all for listening. And Tom, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.